GM, we are back. Actually, one second, let me mute the other mic. There we go. All right, welcome back. It has
What's
been
poppin'?
a
What's
minute, and
poppin'?
it's good to be back. Dude, it's been the crazy time of the year right now for me. Um, but you know, got to get back on the regular routine of the spaces and everything else as I'm sitting here packing for my next trip right after I finished unpacking from the last one. Um, but yeah, either way, it is good to be back. I think that, like right now is the start of I think it's the start of a fun stretch. And we'll get into that in a minute. Rooster, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, man?
What's poppin', Kaleo?
Oh man, just just getting back into the swing of things, man. I feel like the one downside to a good Miami trip is it takes a good detox after the trip before you feel like you're up and running. And then the issue is during this time of the year again for me, it's like I'm immediately planning on the next thing. But I mean, what I've got this weekend is just a family wedding, like second cousins though. So not as close, but close enough that I'm like, I know some of the family drama and but I'm not part of the drama. So I think it'll be slightly entertaining. We'll see though.
Yeah, man. Few things probably I think we should cover today. Friend Tech, Fantasy Top. Um, Dang, I just had a third one too, and I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, we can start anywhere.
Let's dive into things, man. What have you been most plugged into over the course of the past week?
Over the past week, kind of just, I mean, still mainly with 90% of my bags just sitting on my hands, and trading about 10% of it either between shitters or friend tech. Like I quadrupled my friend tech initial allocation between about $1.35 and $2. I just kept stacking and stacking on the dips, and I was pretty much catching the local bottoms on all of them. And so that's probably my larger trade of the week, or my larger position that I have open. Um, and yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm pretty bullish on FinTech from here. Like at least at this $2 level, right? We were talking about this even before it launched. Around 200 million FDV is a bid area, in my opinion.
So, dude, here I'm going to go back and forth on that because we talked about it prior to really knowing anything about V2, right? Um, I'll be honest. I think right now, like I'm really tempted to bid because I'm like you. We're right now, at the current price level that it's at versus the amount of friend that I ended up making off my initial drop, where I sold it at, probably made about an extra 50%, you know, which, from where we are right now compared to what it is. So it's tempting to buy back in because I still do have high conviction. I've got incredibly high conviction in the SoFi space in general coming up here for this cycle. But like, I go back and forth where I look at Friend and, the positives that it's got going for it and why, like, I am bullish that it will eventually hit over a $1 billion FDV is it has so much social awareness, right? Everybody knows what the brand is. The recognition's there. It's got the first mover advantage. It's got a lot of things like that going for it. But then I look at like honestly, man, that update was just I feel like a slap in the face slightly to the user base. It just didn't really do anything substantial in my opinion. As far as the group chats dynamic versus the keys dynamic, it kind of felt like repeating the same thing. I did not like the way how, they just announced how they are shifting some of the monetization for the money clubs over to the presidents of it. I like that, but like it was a very obvious ploy that they waited a few days to do it to look like it's this good thing because they knew the majority of the volume on a lot of these was going to happen like in the first day or two, right? So that they would be able to capitalize on that and be able to take home the most that they possibly could. So there's just a lot of little things like that that I'm not really, I don't know, man. It just, there's something to me that feels a little like I want to support it because again, I'm bullish on the SoFi space, but it just, and I told myself again that I would buy back in here, especially because, I'm looking at it still up on it. I don't know, man. I'm like, is that the best place to park my capital right now? I'm debating.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, personally, I'm not sure if it is the best place to currently park my capital as well. Um, Kind of my thesis on it though is, looking back at when Blur did their airdrop, right? Round one. Granted, I think this is their only airdrop. Uh, 100% of the tokens are out, right? So, I mean, they kind of hinted this morning of doing almost like a layer three, which is I don't really know how I feel about that. I'm not sure what they meant by um, adding meme coins to FinTech. I'm not sure if that is like how the arena does it, where you can just tip other people, or if it's going to be, they're making their own chain, and or that they'll just add support for meme coins on their bunny swap decks or whatever, and then make it easy for people that are only on FinTech to be able to be onboarded into meme coins. I don't know, or I don't know if it's the intern just talking gibberish. Um, but seeing as how I did for build up a position four times my initial allocation, I would like to remain bullish. But yeah, just like Blur, I mean, it it kind of had the huge sell off, and then was a slow grind up during week one, had another sell off, and then after about 7 days or so, Blur ended up just taking off after a lot of people just cheated their allocation.
Yeah, I should not be greedy and just start scaling back in. But I look at it, I'm like, oh man, I can I like catch a buck 50 here? Can I catch a dollar? Like, can I nail the bottom? That's really what part of it is for me. But then the other side of me is like, man, it's at $2, right? From a long-term perspective, it's really tough to not see how it doesn't eventually climb back above that. So I think it's a safe bag to hold on to, right? I really do. And if you have it, I 100% think that, it's one of those things you shouldn't really be sweating the volatility. Anytime you get a new token like this, there's going to be a decent amount of volatility that's inherently baked into it, right? You know, any of these new drops. I again just go back, Rooster. My thing is I'm looking at like the previous airdrops. This is the other part that's kind of playing into my should I buy back in right now timing. And if you look at previous airdrops again, like what did we talk about? They're usually bullish for like the first couple of weeks. And then after that, you usually see more of a bleed where they then form the base and then like end up sending off of it. So, I mean, this easily could shift away from that dynamic. I'm not saying that's a rule, but I am saying that that is a decent like playbook as far as a lot of different airdrops that we've seen in the past, right? Is that it's very difficult for it to maintain just an up only trajectory from day one. So that's kind of my thought process is again, it looks like it leveled, dude, it pulled more than a 3x off the base, about a 4x off the base, right? Um, once it found its base. And then from there, I mean, it's just kind of been a little bit of sideways chop. And like, I just look at it again, that's happened over the course of the first week, week and a half. So From a timing perspective, as much as I'm bullish on the market capital, and I think like it's very cheap compared to what it should be, just from like the timing perspective of what's happened with previous airdrops, that's what's giving me hesitation of like, is now the best time to ape back in fully?
No, you just like fighting my bags anytime I answer a position. That's really what gets you off.
Hey, dude, I'm not
Let me
trying to
say,
fund this. I'm obviously incredibly bullish on everything to do with SoFi. Like huge proponent of the arena. Think the arena still is being slept on. Like, there's some others that I want to mess around with. I'm pissed at myself for not doing more on the. I'm supposed to get a card made for Fantasy Top, but pissed at myself again for not taking advantage of all that stuff sooner. So I again think there's a lot of stuff that's coming that's going to be huge for SoFi this bull market. And if you're just trusting from like a brand name awareness type perspective, again, Friendtech at a $200 million market cap sounds pretty dang free, right? If you're just talking about from first mover, being the face of the space, etc., I think it's a solid play. Like I've got nothing against it as long as it's one of those things again where you're cool with the volatility, cool with waiting a minute. Um,
I just won $6 within the next 10 days. That was pretty much my horizon. I mean, initial target was 8 off the lows. But it's not looking like a 2 week time horizon at this point. I am more than happy with 6. And then yeah, sure, find a bottom after that. But let me TP first.
I'm doing a little bit of I didn't look at what the exact. Okay, so actually Rooster did more than a 4x off the bottom. So, again, that's the thing that's tough. Even though from the perspective that I'm looking at it, it's very cheap price wise. My question for you is what is your trigger on this? If this is a short-term trade, where are you like, all right, I'm out? Or are you basically just going to be like, yeah, well, if it doesn't hit, then I'm just holding this bag until eventually it does.
Well, on my chart right now, um, I kind of have, it's only been out for what, 8 days at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I still have like HTF support. It's getting close to touching it right now. At this 4 hour would be like 197, 198. It, yeah, I don't know. I'll probably cut if we start heading below 190, other than like, what might seem like a deviation. But if we make a lower low, for sure, we close a 4 hour today below 185, I'll probably end up just cutting, and I'd still be in profits there. I think my break even, outside of the profits just from the airdrop, is about 165. So, still a little bit of profits on the trade, not what I wanted. But I'll probably rotate the capital some elsewhere if we get a good 4 hour close below 180.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big X factor you brought up a little bit ago, if there's some type of like meme coin creation generation where friend is the base for those memes that's implemented, like that would be what drives a real just FOMO into friend, in my opinion, right? At least initially. How sustainable it is, that's a different question for whether it actually maintains people's interests and kind of like drives the ecosystem value. I think that's more difficult than what it actually sounds like, especially when you're going to have everybody trying to launch something left and right, right? So that is I think, real initial bull case immediately. Because honestly, it's like I'm looking at it from the perspective of just the money club trading. I don't think, I think money club trading is kind of flattened out a little bit, right? Already. Um, so, there has to be something that I think drives a bit more interest in kind of the Ponzonomics of the initial value proposition right now for it. But hey, I mean, it could definitely come. There's nothing to say that it won't. And I think that like it is the obvious roadmap if you're looking at it from their perspective with the way they've designed everything.
Yeah, and another thing that played a small part in my thesis as well is, it being 100% community allocation. Depending on how it plays out, can either look really, really smart, or you might not see too many people following after it, because it's obviously going to get dumped hard if you're doing 100% allocation, especially the people who saw high seven-figure airdrops, right? Like who's not going to be cashing in on that? At least some of it, no matter what the price is, right? So the huge dump makes sense, right? And see, now we're seeing Trintech at $2, dumping while we're speaking about it. But now, when does Paradigm get their entry, right? They gave up all their points or token allocations, right? Any other VC
Bro,
type?
they've
So that
gotten their entry, Rooster. They get their entry on every single swap that happens.
I mean, true,
They
but
get a cut of all of that, bro. They're going to be the biggest holder if they're not already. They're going to be the largest holder in no time. So they've already got their entry. It's part of the way the fees work. They're not buying any, is my point. Like if anything, they're still going to be, have emissions, and the difference is by earning it this way. Guess what? They have no lock on it,
yeah,
so
no,
there's no
100%.
vesting period. So they actually have access to dump whatever they want. It's kind of genius.
Well, now you're fighting my bags, and I think we should move on.
I mean, I'm not by like slightly. Again, I've said how bullish I am on the trajectory of where this is going long term. I'm just bringing up several reasons why it's one of those things where I think what we were looking for, and I brought this up the other like last week before it launched, where I really saw it. I was like, okay, I thought it would launch higher. I did. And I thought that it would, pull a, decent multiple right off the bat from when it did launch. Kind of did that off the base once it found its base. And then from there, it's like the nature of these things, especially with a fully communicated community allocated token, is it just feels like there's a natural bleed that occurs over time. Now it's more bullish in the long term, right? It's one of those things that once these type of coins find their base, dude, incredibly bullish, because guess what? There aren't these VCs that have millions and millions of tokens that are then going to end up like unlocking, that have just been waiting to dump on you, that are going to be doing it in droves, right? Like it's different. So I think that that's the upside. It's one of those things where it's a better longer term proposition. It's not necessarily, I think, the best from a short term perspective, but from a long term perspective, the way that they did it, I think, is about as bullish as it gets.
Well, I wish it was short-term bullish, because I would like to get a heater on this one. But I mean, it doesn't help with Bitcoin jumping off a cliff too, anyways.
I mean, hey, like when I the thing that makes me the most confident about the fact that I could be wrong on this is again the fact that I am not re-entered yet. So I'm sharing my perspective from the other side, but again, like it goes with a bag bias. So but again, I am re-emphasizing here that all the numbers that we're talking about right now, if you're looking like 6 months down the road, they're all FUD. So um yeah.
But yeah, let's
Uh
let's uh let's move on to fantasy top. You say you got a card coming? Is that in
dude,
today's
I
drop?
need to follow up with Travis again. They were supposed to make me one. Yeah, but I'm supposed to have a card, or I was supposed to have a card coming last week.
I
I
just
just haven't.
listed all my cards this morning. Oh, and I just sold one. Nice.
Nice. But yeah, the issue is I think I'm going to get a card made right about the time the volume probably dies out on it. So I probably won't get.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like on the new drop, we'll probably see the prices of all the current cards, be cut in half.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like it's gonna do a Top Shot type playlist, and
yeah,
or Top Shot type of style for this is how it's gonna play out. Like, I'm getting Top Shot 2.0 vibes.
is this not Top Shot for Twitter?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it kinda has, and, I mean, how much money did Top Shot make? So,
A
if you're
lot.
them, why not?
But I do. I mean, I feel like it's already slowing down a little bit. Um, I mean, it never really grasped my attention. It was a cool idea. I'm not sure if they have all the mechanics executed well, in terms of like how they score things in the tournament. And I mean, you're just earning points at this point, right? You're not even earning money. Who knows how much the points are going to be worth? I mean, you're earning blast gold. At least I think. I don't even know if I got points for the last tournament I entered. I was like, I ended up being top 5K, which isn't great, but still top 30% or whatever. But I haven't even gotten any points from that. So I'm not even sure what you're earning.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same thing with a lot of these apps though early on, is that it's really easy for them to go out and do this whole point system because they don't have to give you any type of a roadmap for what their tokenomics are going to be, what exactly you're earning. You're all just doing it kind of based on this hope, right? And we are letting ourselves get played from that perspective of just running this game for a while, but like it's a pure hope based thing, man. Like, we don't know the exact outline of a lot of it. It's just, we're, I think, going to get a little bit of a clearer picture as more of these drops start to happen, what the array of possibilities are and how they work. I'm pretty sure the arena drop's going to be completely different than the friend tech drop. Obviously, different scale, right? Like, I assume it's going to be a smaller market cap by X%, right? But like, they are definitely approaching it in a different way to friend tech, where I'm not sure what the reserves that they're setting aside, but I think it's a more traditional token allocation as far as setting up LPs, making partnerships with centralized exchanges. And then the emission schedule is you only get 10% unlocked each month. Um, so it's a little bit of a different structure overall, and I think that you're probably going to have a mix of a lot of these other apps that do something in between. So I think that because we're so early onto this, we're going to kind of slowly get a playbook of what these points will actually look like, what system works best, etc. But I mean, it's kind of the fun part right now. We're in the middle of the experimentation, and that's where a lot of opportunity lies.
I'd be turbo bullish on Arena, and I've tried so many times. I just personal bias. I can't get over the fact I was cucked so hard on the points. Within the first 2 weeks, I had a 200 AVAX portfolio for like 13 days. I ended up only getting like 73 points total, which, according to my calculation, should have been like many of thousands at the time. It's just like it's like a original entry bias, right? You don't want to buy something up higher because you saw it so low. I had should have gotten so many dang points back then. Like every time I get into the app, I feel defeated.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, man. It's one of those things where I think that. Wait, so you're saying you like, all the points that you earned from back in the day, you don't see them anymore? Or you just feel like you didn't earn enough for what happened?
No, I didn't earn them. I think they sent out the points when I had the AVAX, like between the time the AVAX was on my wallet and the 5 minutes of me turbo buying keys. I think is when they sent out the points. So I think I missed the cutoff by 60 seconds
And
of
then the next team or not the next team, but
no,
then
and then it
like the
got
hack
rubbed.
happened, and
Yeah.
basically you never got the points from like that in between phase.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. So yeah, I had like 200 AVAX locked away for 13 days and got 73 points to show for it. I was,
Dude,
oh yeah, it makes me turbo
that is
heated.
tough. Yeah, but here's the flip side of it though. I think there are a lot of people, and this could easily, at least from a near term perspective, I think there's upside and downside to this. There are a lot of people that have points they earned that haven't visited the app in a long time, right? And I think the upside perspective of that is that there are a lot of people that are going to return to it to be able to claim those points, claim the drop. And if you have continued to build the product out, it might be something where you hope that that kind of gains a little bit of momentum and traction, gets you talked about a little bit more, rolls forward with it. The downside is the majority of the people that don't have, like, that earn their points way back in the day, let's be real, they're just going to 100% turbo nuke their drop as soon as
Yeah,
they can, right?
Korean Jew, Vombatis,
So,
syphilis, whatever.
yeah, like there's upside and downside to that, but I think still a lot of the perspective with some of these tokens should be kind of what I just brought up with Friendtech, right? You don't expect it to be up only forever immediately after launch. I mean, that's the nature of a lot of these airdrops. They usually take a little bit of time to form a base and then end up kind of launching after. Like I look back, I think sushi's a good example of that, where sushi back during the last cycle, I think that, I forget how much value the average person got. I think probably a couple grand from their airdrop, right? And it launched at like a buck 50, $2. And then it went all the way down to about 50 cents. And then from 50 cents, it went all the way up to I think 15 bucks, right? So point being though, it all didn't happen overnight. A lot of that took some time to settle out. People still used the swap in between. And eventually, as the market momentum started to shift the other direction, a lot of these tokens that were launched and built in the bear ended up just finding a comfortable place and ended up riding that momentum and continuing higher off of it. So
Yeah, but then you look
that's
at like Jupe got
but
dumped,
Jupe is
and
still early,
then
man. I mean, like officially, Jupe could still be in that same playbook. I agree with you. Yeah, Jupe got nuked, right? But like, does that mean Jupe is dead forever? Does that mean Jupe is not
no,
going to come back?
Jupe pumped hard off of the nuke and chop. That's what I'm saying. Within like within 2 weeks, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull up the chart here, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Jupiter
Let's
pumped hard
see.
off the. Yeah, they're over $1 right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, but Jupe. Okay, I guess here's why I'm talking, about Jupe a little bit differently, because Jupe initially launched around 60 cents and it kind of just chopped there for a couple weeks and then it did its major pump and now it's kind of been down since then. So I still don't even know if I don't know. I'm talking about something that had that initial pump and then takes months of sideways at whatever that base range that it finds before it ends up taking off. I think that's like the safest entry for a lot of these. But I mean, again, if you're bullish on these projects at the same time, there's no real reason to flip flop around. The biggest reason I think to like take some off the table initially is just from the perspective of if you're paid out on a token at X value, from the tax perspective of just covering the basis of whatever you're going to owe on it. So I think that's the smartest thing or reasoning for kind of exiting a decent percentage at whatever levels, right?
Yeah, sure. Or you buy more and your average is higher, and then you sell for a loss, and then that covers the taxes anyways.
Yeah, Rooster's a professional CPA if y'all didn't know, so just trust
Yeah.
him on all this.
Yeah, if you want to know how to not end up owing taxes, It may not be by winning, right? You may just not owe by losing. But I'll help you out there. Just like the stonks, I've now hold I think majority of the stonks in my wallet for over a year. Now I'm no longer short-term capital gains liable. I appreciate that. Also, speaking about that, let's sidebar into Mad Lads real quick. Holy fuck, they got nuked over the past couple of weeks.
Did
Mad
they?
Lads,
What are they right now?
oh, like 75, 65, I think 75.
Ah, bro. I mean,
Um,
it's the nature of what's happening across the NFT marketplace right now. Again, the funny thing is, we've reached this point of depression where even NFT maxis, when I talk to them, think that NFTs aren't coming back. A lot of them
Dude, that's
do.
almost me, dude. That's what I keep
And
buying more NFTs and they keep not pumping.
I'm just saying, I have the conviction that NFTs are going to make a comeback. It's going to happen. There's going to be an NFT part of this cycle. Like, I really, you know, it just makes too much sense that it will happen. Uh, and honestly, the more that it does not make sense, the more sense that it makes to me. I don't even know if if that registers, but I believe it. So it's going to eventually happen. Um, I
Oh yeah,
mean,
they're at levels like, NFTs are the major part of my portfolio currently. And when I'm looking for money to I'm so like cozy in all my bags right now. Anytime I'm trying to like, hop into the new narrative or rotate money into a different play, or I'm like, okay, where the fuck am I gonna pull some money from? And then, I have these NFT bags that I haven't done nothing for the majority of my portfolio. But then I'm like, I'm not selling a panda at 1.7 ETH or 1.5 ETH. Like, it's absolutely retarded. And then, yeah, then I'm like, okay, well, I can't sell any of my NFTs, which is a large part of my bag. And then I'm scrambling, trying to figure out where I'm going to pull money from.
yeah, that is tough, man. Like, it's the toughest part about NFTs in general. People talk about the lack of liquidity, but then, it's one of those things where typically, like, you find a way to survive that period, and it all happens at once whenever it does happen, right? So it's like, can you survive until that little window where you get that pump off the base from these and, like, you ride that wave, you ride the momentum. It's I mean, it can be tough, but at the end of the day, I think that, like, NFTs have several differentiating factors, right? Like, everybody talks about the community factor as a meme. I really do see it as one of those things where there is real value that's provided on that side of it, just from the connections that you make from these things that make it a little bit easier. That, by the time you end up getting to that, and, like, from one side or the other, call it bag bias, call it whatever, but, like, I think part of it really does come down to appreciating what you are holding on to. Like, there's a meme that you're left with the pixels, that you're left with whatever, but, like, at the end of the day, I think for the average person that have has NFTs, there's some truth to the appreciation for that, right?
Yeah, dude, being in
So
a community in this space is like the most positive RR you can have. A decent community, obviously not a shite one. But yeah, and you look at even the listeners, not many, but about 50% of them at least are rocking NFTs as a PFP. You got probably 80 plus percent of crypto Twitter rocking NFTs as a PFP. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I don't see how they don't catch their bid rather than people are just like, okay, I found my communities. I'm not really looking to join anything else.
yeah, I mean, it's tough though in the meantime, right? Because, like, at the end of the day, this whole game in crypto kind of feels like a game of musical chairs where you're running around hopping from one to the next and hoping that the chair that you find one before the next one gets rugged. But I think that's the other advantage in a sense of NFTs. It's so easy to overtrade in this space. And it's like at a certain point, you know, you're kind of locked into something a little bit. At the end of the day, a lot of the times there can be a little bit of upside to that for the average person, as long as you don't like need that liquidity for living expenses, right? A lot of people will outperform by just sitting on what's boring. And hey, dude, I did not even realize what time it is coming up. I hate doing a short space because I have been MIA and I don't want to do a short space. Let's plan one for either Sunday or Monday and run it back.
All right.
But
Well, before you
I
go,
just,
I gotta say
yeah,
something.
yeah, say something, brother.
I have completed all operations on my body. Stones are removed. I feel really good. Couple more weeks of healing. It's, what a fucking ride. That was, and thanks to a lot of you guys out there who gave me good vibes. Really helped. I think that's part of a lot of things, like my doctor being, holy shit, you're 58 and you're healing like a 28-year-old. Um, so thankful for that. The shit part, the hard part is over. Um, very easily, I could say, I had kidney stones removed from me. One was the size of a golf ball. Ask me anything. So that's where I'm at.
For you, man. Love hearing the update. You sound great too.
I'm high. I traded out the oxycodone for bong loads this morning, and it works great. Side only a little bit. They had to go through my
Uh,
side, so I literally have a hole in my side, and
dude,
it's weird. It seems like it should hurt a
yeah.
lot more, but it did.
Well, thanks for coming up and sharing, man. You've been in our thoughts and prayers through all this, so it's
Yeah,
good to hear that you're doing well.
and I appreciate
With
stuff. That's really really cool. Just thanks. It's just me and my wife out here. So you guys all play certain roles of extended family in all your various positions.
I appreciate it, man. With that, I'm supposed to pick up my little sister in about 20 minutes, and she's called me 3 times, and I haven't even finished packing yet.
Yeah,
um,
dude. Thanks for the space. I'm gonna go take a nap.
RIP. It's been good coming up, talking to y'all. We'll see y'all very soon. Wonky Stonks are inevitable, and it's been fun. Good to catch back up, man.
Cheers,
See ya.
everybody. Have a good weekend.